Okay, again, thank you very much, parents, for your participation in this evening's Best Academies Q&A session. This will be first of many Q&A sessions. I think we want to hold at least one every week because of the revolving nature of COVID-19 restrictions and guidelines. And yes, we will continuously reach out to our group of parents because 6 to 7 is not always ideal for everyone. So we will try to host it in different days and different time frames so that we can serve as many parents as possible. Another thing is for students, we have a dedicated week. So the week before we start. So our first day of summer camp is June 14th, but the week of June 7th, we'll have an orientation meeting like every day. So Monday through Friday, you can pick a day where it works best for you, and more information about that will be available soon. So without further ado, let's get started. And of course, we welcome our Best Academy and Fairfax Global Academy families, our sister school. So here's our agenda for tonight. Just a few things before we open it up to Q&A. We have some COVID protocols that are already in place before we open it up to our students. And we'll briefly cover how our virtual and in-person, so we're going to actually hold both in a hybrid format. So we'll go over how our classroom format would look like, and then I'll give you some updates on what's available in our summer camp, and then we'll go to Q&A. So we have something called Covet daily screening that's currently in place. Actually, since the COVID-19, the breakout of the COVID-19 pandemic, last year, we haven't officially opened up our campus in person yet. So our summer camp will be our official program where we will be allowing students to come in person. So in order to keep everyone safe, that includes the students as well as our teachers and staff here, we have something called daily screening that you will be receiving every morning. So I have it set up so that a new screening survey will be sent out 1 a.m. every night. And you can open it up in the morning, and it's just 5-question survey, and you can just quickly submit it through our Blackboard system called Jupyter Ed. So I know just looking at the participants tonight, some of you are already familiar with Jupyter Ed, and others are completely new to what that is. And it's Best Academy's version of the Blackboard system that we use. We call it Jupyter Ed. And it's a really easy tool for students and parents to not only check our students' grades and their homework assignment, reporting in attendance. I mean, you can do so many things with it, but we're adding a feature where parents are able to send in a daily survey, which will be sitting as soon as you open it up on your phone or computer. So the goal is to have this daily screening for all in-person students. So if your child is enrolled for our online/virtual program, then you don't have to fill out this daily screening survey. However, for in-person students, they must fill this out every morning. The second part is our Kiss and Ride system. So if you have been to our building in the past, you can you remember that we have a pretty sizable parking lot in front of us, in between the Exxon gas station and our building. So we're going to actually create something similar to what public schools have in terms of the system, the Kiss and Ride system, where they're dropped off by the parents and then they're escorted in to our building. And during dismissal, the students are brought out to the car so that we want to minimize the traffic, right? We want the students and our volunteers to be able to escort the students in and out of the building. Because before COVID-19, I remember we have group of parents, probably like 20 to 30 parents waiting right in front of our lobby to have their kids picked up. But I think this kiss and ride system will solve a lot of problems that we've had in the past in terms of dismissal. And of course, it's going to keep everyone safer, right, than having parents come inside. We also have designated entrance and exit. So fortunately, our level has multiple doors when it comes to coming in and out of the building. So there are many access points. But for summer program, because we want to make sure that everyone follows these protocols, we will have signs. And of course, during the orientation before our first day of class, we will show you which doors to use depending on which program you're in. So for example, our ninth graders, so our SAT students may use a different door compared to our elementary school, like GT or enrichment program students. So, just for the sake of our conversation today, just mentioning that we will have designated places for students' entrance and exit. The fourth one is still sort of up in the air, right? And I hate saying up in the air because I actually want everything to be in place. But the nature of COVID-19 has been very tricky to predict. But one thing I know for sure is that we're trending on the right direction with the vaccination process, right? So about 2 weeks ago when we had our Best Academy town hall meeting, I was actually very uncertain about whether we could go to the pool or not, right? And for a lot of these students that are coming back to Best Academy, that's usually one of the first things they ask, like, Mr. James, will we be going to the swimming pool? And the short answer to that right now is yes, right? But the sticky part is the transportation of it. And I've talked to several parents who said they're willing to transport their own kids from Best Academy's building to Audrey Moore Rec Center, which is about a 5-minute drive, sometimes 3 minutes if the lights all cooperate. But it's a very short drive, but still, if the social distancing rule remains in place until our first time visiting the pool, how are we going to put everyone in our bus? Because it's impossible to social distance inside the car. So for parents that are willing, you're welcome to help us transport your child from our building to the pool. And once we're done with swimming session, you can just go directly from home. So you don't have to bring them back to Best Academy to be dismissed, but we'll have a system where you can just take your student to, back home straight from the swimming pool. Again, this is still up in the air, and regardless of whether the distancing rule is lifted or not for summer camps, we're going to have to ask our parents to sign a waiver that they're not going to sue Best Academy because they were transported in the same car. If you're feeling uncomfortable about just participating in the swimming pool activity on Fridays, you can pick your students up after lunch. So as many of you know, we have a shorter class time on Fridays. So instead of a 55-minute class, it'll be a 35-minute class from first through fourth period, and then lunch. So at about 12:30 or so, you should be able to pick up your child to just take them home. That you're not going to participate in the swimming pool activity, or if you want to take them yourselves, you're more than welcome to do that. So you'll have several options, and we will outline everything. And one of the reasons why we're one of the reasons why we designate the very last week before the first day of school is that we want to have as much information as possible, and we want everything to be in place as much as possible before we have our first day of school. And there's a good chance that everything gets lifted during our summer camp session. So if anything important changes, you'll definitely hear something from me. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, you're welcome to call the school or reach out to me. Any one of us will be happy to assist you in regards to your questions about our COVID protocols. But I hope this brings some light to questions that you had about, how is Best Academy going to manage this. And to be honest, I have to thank our local private institutions. So we have a lot of partners that we work very closely with in terms of recommending our students to various private schools and institutions, and they have really good protocols in place, and I borrowed a lot of their protocols too, and they've been doing super in terms of battling COVID and limiting cases. So yeah. Okay, so our classroom format, as you know, we have students that are enrolled in person, and we have students that are enrolled virtually or online, right? So we call this concurrent or hybrid classroom. I think FCPS is their term that they use is concurrent, and I think more parents are used to hearing hybrid classroom, but they're the same thing, right? It means that we have both in-person and virtual platform going on at the same time. And I know a lot of our parents are they have a stigma towards online education, mostly because of the experience that they had with their current institution. But as I've said many times during our town hall meetings or even during our phone conversation, our online classroom format is very different than what you've experienced with your base school. And the biggest reason, this is not a big secret or anything, but one of the biggest reasons why it's been so successful with Best Academy is that we have a smaller class size. So our average class size this summer, we're looking at 4 to 6 in-person seats plus 4 to 8 virtual students connecting. So it'll be somewhere around 15, right? 12 to 15. Some classes are a little bit bigger. Some classes may have just 4 students. So I would say the average class size is around 12 students. And I mean, if the students are there, and you might be wondering, hey, but if you are connecting from home, then how is my student supposed to interact with their students, with other students, with their teachers? So I'll cover that in a bit, but our average class size is very small. So our teachers are able to tend to both in-person students, so students in front of them, as well as students that are connecting from home. And I'll show you in a bit with pictures of how that's possible. Our intent this summer, so this point is pretty important, and this is actually our honest, the moment of truth, right? Our intent this summer is to enroll as many students as possible, right? I mean, as a small business or as a small private school, we want to, serve as many students as possible, right? And I say this because it's a no-brainer, but I say this because some parents are asking, hey, I registered early so that we can go in person because there were a limited number of seats. But if the mandate is lifted and you're able to take in as many students as you want in person, what are you going to do about it? And our intent is to open it up to more in person as much as we can in a safest way possible, right? And I'm just being totally honest here. Last year, Best Academy took a big hit in terms of our enrollment, and we had to lower our tuition because there was a stigma towards online education. So it's a miracle, right, that we survived another year and were able to open up another summer camp, our 28th summer camp this year. So if we don't do well this year, there's no promise that we'll be around next year, and it was that difficult for us. And so as much as I want to keep the in-person seats as small as possible, business-wise, we have to make sure that we follow all the safety guidelines while keeping the business afloat. So our intent this summer, if the mandate is lifted, that doesn't mean we're going to cram in 12, 15 students per class, because we physically have smaller classrooms. So before the COVID-19 situation, we used to have about 8 to 9 students per classroom. Some classroom can only fit 5, others can fit 12. So we basically, depending on our enrollment, we would choose different classrooms for different grade level. So right now it's set at 4 to 6, but if we're able to enroll more in person, legally and also from a safety standpoint, our intention is to enroll more students. And I hope I hope we're able to get your understanding on this too. And the third point, it's never going to be just a broadcast. So some private schools that I've actually sat and watched, like I observed a couple of our private schools in the area because we were able to, so I took advantage of that. And a lot of them were actually just broadcasting what they were covering in class to the students. So it was like watching a YouTube, right? If you're studying from home. And the students that are connecting from home thought that they had the greatest teachers if they just looked into the camera and would sometimes address their questions. I mean, that's not how it's going to be done here, right? It's never going to be just a broadcast, but online students can freely participate. And the great thing about it is our online students can not only see their teachers that are teaching, but they can also see their classmates. So we have multiple cameras set up in our classroom. So every classroom has a camera for the teacher and a camera that shows their classmates, right? And vice versa. The students that are coming here in person has a big screen where they can see students that are connecting from home. So, the questions or the answers that the online students are providing can be shared with in-person students as well as our teachers. So I think it'll make more sense if you see this slide here. So this first picture is a perspective from our teachers, right? So our teachers, this is the computer they'll be using to teach. And this is a microphone that captures not just what the teacher is saying, but from our classmates too here. And because they're able to monitor students that are here in class, as well as students in front of them, right? Because this is basically showing what the teacher is sharing here. And this is showing whoever's in the front. But students that are also sitting in the classroom through the screen, they're able to see, oh, okay, Charlie from Ashburn, said this, right? And we have our camera set up here so that everyone can participate. And as far as hiring our teachers, we're gonna make this very conscious. Like we're gonna have to make some conscious decisions, right? So when we are interviewing our teachers, we're making sure that this teacher has had experience teaching in a concurrent/hybrid environment, and that the student is able to participate freely without any restrictions, regardless of the platform that they're using. So here are some of the programs that we have for summer camp 2021. Most of you have already registered, and most of you, I think, have already tested your child either with me or with Miss Courtney. If you're in our advanced STEM, TJ Prep or SAT camp, you have recently received an email from Mr. Moon to schedule something with him. So if your child is in our full day and GT intensive here, you're gonna be testing with me or Miss Courtney. If you already took the test with me or Miss Courtney, then you're done, right? If you're in the advanced STEM, formerly known as TJ Prep, or the SAT, then you'll be testing with Mr. Moon. And if you have any questions on that, please feel free to ask us during the Q&A session, and we'll be happy to lead you to which links that you should be using to sign up. For those of you who are looking into earning some credits over the summer, you have to have your counselor's permission from your current school. So hypothetically, let's just say that a student named Courtney wants to take geometry honors as a rising ninth grader. you have to ask your current counselor to see if you can take such credit course over the summer, because at the end of these courses, Best Academy has to we have to transfer these credits to your base school. And for us to do that, we need to have the signature from your counselor before you sign up. And we offer many different credit courses. And I can show you how to find that later. And our mini courses, of course. So this actually was not present 3 weeks ago when I was making the presentation. But these mini courses actually, I think, are going to be very popular too, because some students are just, because they had put in so much work over this academic year, they're trying to, not trying to, but they just can't commit to a full day camp, right? And we have mini courses that would meet just a couple times a week, or sometimes just once a week, depending on the courses. And you're still working over the summer on some of these courses that you want to improve on, or you want to kind of work ahead before you go to your before you go back to school in the fall. So yeah, check out those mini courses as well. That's also on our website. So again, these two, full day enrichment and GT intensive, is being tested with me and Ms. Courtney. STEM and SAT is being tested with Mr. Moon, and these don't actually need our assessment or placement exam, or we call it. So that is it in terms of the presentation. If you would like to come off mute and ask, using your microphone, you're welcome to. If you want to use the chat function, and if you want to just ask through that'll be great. If you don't have any other questions, I'll just stay here until 7 o'clock because that's our allotted time. But yeah, I thank you so much for participating this evening. And again, for students, we will have a designated week. So the week before our first day of school, so the week of June 6th, the week of June 7th, we will have an orientation every evening, Monday through Friday, and you just have to attend one of them. So yeah, I would love to open up the floor to everyone, and I'm actually going to start my camera now. So,
Mr. James, this is
yes.
Jody. I have a question for you.
Hi.
So for the drop-off and pickup, the school starts at 9 o'clock. What time does the drop-off start in the mornings?
Very good question. So the school starts at 9, but we're going to actually have the kiss and ride set up from 8:15-ish. And we I think we need to have the pickup and drop-off time extended a little bit so that not everyone comes in at the same time, right? And I need to actually get back to you on this because Dr. Lee, Mr. Moon, a bunch of our staff members have thought about designated like which time frame you can use to drop off your student based on their grade, but with the morning traffic and everything, that's going to be very difficult. So I think we have a more control on the pickup time, right? But as far as dropping off in the morning, even before COVID time, we used to have somebody here from 7:30, right, for before care. But official drop-off time is between 8 to 9. But if we have to extend that, of course, I think after the first week or even after the first day, if we need to make adjustments, we'll do that. But an hour before class, and of course, in the evening, it used to be just 30-minute window because we wanted to be strict with our aftercare guidelines, but we may have to extend it to 1 hour instead of 30 minutes for the pickup time after school is over. So once we have that in place, so we're currently working on something called Welcome Packet, and it should have our dates, so our calendar for the summer, and policies, and some like paperwork that you have to sign and return back to us in terms of the transportation agreements and things like that. So, Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I'll look out for that
Yeah.
information.
Yeah.
And then just one more question.
Mhm.
Can you talk a little bit about how like snacks and lunchtime, like what or like break time, what that's going to look like?
Yes. So in the past, Jody, students used break time in between classes to use the bathroom, and we can't do that this year because that's going to crowd the hallway and the bathroom. So the guideline is a little bit tricky right now, where inside the class, 3 feet is allowed, but when they're eating and when they're outside of the classroom going to the bathroom in the hallway, they say 6 feet. So um, realistically, to make that happen, especially for lunch, right? Where there are a couple of scenarios that we're looking at. If the mandate is lifted, then that's not a problem. But if they keep the 6 feet rule, then we have to take part of, at least parts of our student body to outside to eat, because we observe 3 feet inside the classroom, but we're also eating in the classroom, right? So if the eating mandates 6 feet apart, then we can't have everyone socially distanced inside the classroom. So I requested that we have some tables outside with supervision, of course, with our staff and our teachers, to actually have the option to eat outside. So again, that's going to be included on the welcome packet of how we're going to enforce it and how we're going to execute that. But it's a huge headache right now because some of them are 3 feet, some of them are 6 feet, and we're trying to accommodate, more frustrated parents who couldn't register in person because they learned of our program too late, versus trying to be safe and making sure that kids are in a safe environment when it comes to studying and eating. So in terms of the bathroom usage, we may have to designate like first through fourth graders, so not using the break time per se, but designate like parts of their classroom time to just go have limited number of students to visit the bathroom, so we don't have 5, 6 students using the bathroom and things like that. And because we will have designated entrance and exit doors, we're going to be able to count who's out and who's using the bathroom. So we're going to have to regulate all of that. And I'm not sure, I just can't imagine how that's working. But again, kids are going to be kids, right? So our admins are going to be, patrolling. I don't want to use the word patrolling, but we're going to be going around the building a lot because we just want to make sure that the kids are following all the protocols. But everything with detailed guidelines will be available in our welcome packet, which will be sent out to our families, I would say by like next week. We want to have it available as soon as possible, but at the same time, these protocols are changing. The CDC guidelines are changing all the time too. So at the very latest, by how our last week before we start camp, so the week of June 7th, we will have our orientation. We will definitely have it during the orientation so that we can go over that with you, and we'll send it over to you after the orientation is over too.
Okay, and then one last comment. And when you guys are preparing this welcome packet and figuring out the logistics, one of the things I would like for you guys to consider, if you haven't already, is putting in your schedule like timed, like washing of hands. I know other schools that are currently in session are doing that. They're designating certain times for the kids, and I'm specifically speaking for my younger children because they're younger and they're little dirtier than other kids. So I just want to make sure that that's in consideration, that there's a period of time where there is a break for the kids to be able to go and wash their hands and such.
So I completely understand it, Jody. And even before the pandemic, our first and second graders have always had 2 teachers, right? That's why they were a little bit more expensive than third graders and up. And the reason why we have 2 teachers is that they need supervision like 24/7 while they're here. So we always have had designated time frame where first and second graders will use the bathroom with their teachers. So we'll have that in place, and we just have to make sure that it doesn't coincide with other grade levels and that's going to be a tricky thing for us to figure out, but we already have that built in for our first and second graders. And we're going to have to just watch it and be mindful of, okay, fifth and sixth graders can use the bathroom here, but also at the same time, when kids gotta go, they gotta go, right? In that case, the staff members who's next to the exit, or close to the exit, or someone that is patrolling the exit will have to take the student with them, or check the bathroom beforehand so that we don't have three, four, five students using the bathroom at the same time. So,
Thank you.
yep. I know it's not the perfect answer, but we're getting there, I think. Yeah. Any other questions from other parents? Okay, so we have a question from Michelle. This is my daughter's first year. Yes, I know. Congratulations. Does she need to bring school supplies for third grade? Pencil, notebook, backpack? Yes, I'm sure this is an excellent question. I'm sure some of them are actually wondering about the same thing. So yes, it is running like a real school, right? So for Bella, if you want her to use the school backpack that she's been using all year, you're more than welcome to do that. The school supplies are given to them, right? In terms of like for art, we're gonna have supplies here for you, but in terms of like writing utensils, and if you want to bring in notebooks, that's all up to you. You can bring it in. We have extra pencils, but again, if you want to use your own pencil. As far as, oh yeah, and you also need to pack your lunch too. Yes, so you need to bring lunch. So we used to have an option where you could buy lunch, but we're gonna actually pass on that this year because of the safety protocol. We used to work with a local deli to bring in hot/cold food, and you were able to actually have a decent amount of options. We will probably have to resume that next year, so you'll have to pack lunch, and you'll be eating lunch from your classroom, or you'll have the option to eat outside. Yeah, hoping for great weather, because if it's raining, then we can't take the kids outside. So that's why I think we need to purchase like benches with, roof, so that students can still enjoy their food outside despite the rain.
All right, can I ask a question on behalf of my mother, who's actually upstairs using the bathroom?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So it seems like every kind of academy, whatever thing I go to seems to have some kind of homework involved. How will homework work in this academy setup?
Let's see. We kind of lost you in the middle of it, but I'm assuming you're a high school student.
Yes, sir. I'm in the SAT program.
Yeah. So you're enrolled in the SAT program. So homework is definitely there every day, not just for SAT students, but for everyone, even as little as first graders, right? Our SAT students, I would say every evening you would spend anywhere between 30 minutes to an hour and 30 minutes. I mean, it really depends on, how well you can read, whether you're a quick reader or whether you're able to understand the concept. But you will be spending some time on your desk every day, right? And I was actually a student myself, right, Ryan? And I hated homework too. But without homework, it's impossible to learn and to kind of revisit what you saw during your class, right? So, but at the same time, Ryan, the students will also be taking like mock exam. So mock SAT exam every 2 weeks. So we have, instead of having you take that during after hours, we take it on a Friday. So, you have a mixture of mock exams plus some homework assignments that are assigned by the teacher. Some days it's going to be a little bit, and other days it might be a lot, just, depending on a day. But depending, regardless of how old you are or which program you're enrolled into, you will have homework assignments every night. And
I really have a question about that homework. Sorry.
go ahead.
what if we have like a quite like let's say we're after hours,
Yeah.
we're doing a homework at our desk at let's say 7 p.m.
Yeah.
What will we do if we have a question about the homework? Like,
Yeah,
for
yeah, very
example.
good question. So Ryan, you're not gonna be, so you actually receive like grades too and remarks from your teachers too, right? Even though it's a summer school, because for feedback purposes, we're not expecting you to be perfect on your homework assignments, right? In some homework, you're gonna be missing a lot, and you might be having a lot of incorrect answers. Others, you might, ace through it, right? If you're unsure about something, make sure you bring it up the next day. Chances are a lot of your friends or classmates probably were stuck on the same question. So a lot of our teachers are trained in a way to survey the students and go over these SAT questions that are very like popular, questions that are easily missed or overlooked by the students. So, put a star on it or something. Of course, like just because it looks difficult, I don't want you to just put a star on it, but at least put an attempt to it so the students or the other classmates and the teachers can see your effort on that, right? And then you bring it and we go over it together. Okay. Salome has, I think Mr. Moon mentioned the STEM program runs from 9 to 1 p.m. and assume there will be just small breaks, not lunch break. Is that correct? No, no, no. So lunch break is going to be there for all grades. So Mr. Moon has an example of breaks and lunchtime. So, from let's say 9 o'clock to 9:05, only first and second graders. 9:20 to 9:25, only third and fourth grade. So he has an example here. I know you can't see it from where you are, but we will have something like this set up, and we will email it to. I mean, it will be part of our welcome packet, and our STEM program students will have lunchtime. I mean, they gotta eat. So regardless of which program you're in, from full day to GT to STEM to SAT, you will have lunchtime, and we will have breaks in between because usually, not usually, but everyone has 4 morning classes followed by lunchtime, and then we have an after-school activity or afternoon like test taking prep, right? So we will have small breaks and lunchtime for all grades from 1st through 12th. Thank you for asking that question. And just going back to Ryan's point about homework, so if you are a first timer at Best Academy, I'm gonna be really honest with you. The first 2 weeks is going to be pretty difficult, just because you or your child. So like Ryan is a student himself, but others here are parents, right? So your kid is probably not used to studying over summer break. In their minds, summer vacation means vacation. Summer break means I'm gonna be playing all day, kind of thing. But so if they're new to this culture, like summer camp culture, especially academic summer camp culture, they're gonna scream and moan for the first 2 weeks. And I've seen that happen many, many times, right? But after the 2 week session, I think that's when they start to settle in and really finally realize, okay, I can't get out of this, and I'm just gonna try to have as much fun as I can. Okay, Ryan, so you participated online last year, and if you're planning on coming in person, I welcome you because, as hard as we tried to create this, like classroom atmosphere or the friendship over the computer, it was really difficult, right? So for students that are connecting through us online or students that are connecting coming here in person, like I think this year, just in general, it's the friendship is going to be easier to formulate, and I think they're going to have more time, more fun with each other, which definitely helps like their expectations and the way they view summer camps in general. So if you kind of need someone to kind of like cheer you on or talk to your students for that first 2 weeks, reach out to me or reach out to any one of us, and we'll be happy to talk to your students. And believe me, I was a student here, and I didn't like coming here every year, but I ended up coming here for 7 years because, I wanted to come. As much as I didn't enjoy, doing homework or staying up, late in the evening reading and writing, I knew it helped me, right, when I went back to school in the fall, just to preview what I'm going to be learning and so forth. So for first timers, the first 2 weeks might be the most difficult 2 weeks. And if you need someone, if you need help with your child's homework assignment, right? We have students like Ryan, who is in high school, that are looking for volunteer hours. So, there's free tutoring session between your child and our volunteers from our high school who's willing to go over and make sure that your student, finishes their homework assignment before they get picked up, or even after they go home. We plan on making that available for our high school students that are looking for volunteer hours, and for students that need help. So if something is not going smoothly, and if you're wondering about whether this is the right path or the right way of unfolding, just reach out to us, and we'll share our knowledge. We'll share some of the tactics that we use to make sure that the students are enjoying our session over the summer.
This will be my last question of the day, or the evening. So I'm someone who you might have discovered about 10 minutes ago. That internet connection is not very good, and I heard something about having our cameras on for online students. So I'm going to be an online student this summer, and is there like a rule where we have to like turn on cameras for the entire class? Because I used Zoom in the spring for some club competition, and it didn't go well because my camera didn't match with my voice. So do we have to turn our cameras on for online students, or like how does?
Yes, Ryan. Thank you for asking that question, and we'll definitely, talk about this again and again. But students must have their camera on at all times during class, right? You have the liberty of turning it off here because we're just having a meeting, right, with our parents. But during class time, the teachers are asked and trained to notify administrators if their camera is not on, if the student's camera is not on. And the next thing that happens is the administrator picks up their phone and they call your home, call your house, talk to your parents and say, your student's camera is not on. And the biggest reason why, it's the most obvious reason, Ryan. Like, if your camera is not on, I have no idea if you're there on the other side of the screen or not, right? I mean, yes, teachers can cold call, right? Say, Ryan, what's the answer to number 3? But, and you can give a bogus answer and be done with it, but that doesn't help with what we're trying to achieve over the summer. So, yeah, the short answer is you have to have your camera on at all times, and regardless of which program you're in, right? And I really do hope that actually helps with making sure that our quality of education is executed the right way. So you may not like it, but that's the school policy, and we got to stick with it. So I've had students who had terrible internet connections, right? Then I had to call your parents and ask them to bump up the speed or something, because if you've signed up online, that basically assumes we have the right to assume that you have connection to a high-speed internet. And there are multiple ways to do it, but I think the quickest fix is to bump up your speed, or if you're for some reason having like Wi-Fi issues, you can connect with your phone, right? You can use your phone as a hotspot, and we actually advise students not to use their phone to connect to their classroom. But if that is the only way for students to participate because they're having internet issues, we'll make that happen. The goal is to not miss class time due to your internet connection. And if that continually becomes the issue, then we either have to convert you to an in-person student, or just deal with that with the internet provider, and making sure that you have the adequate amount of service or speed. And 99% of the time the students are in a spot at home where it's very weak. You may have to move your desk around, or you may have to connect from kitchen if you are signed up for online session. But we have the right to assume that you have access to high-speed internet, whether it is from home, whether it is from the local library, or whether it is from Starbucks. Yeah, you will have to figure that out. Any other questions from our parents or students? Any particular slide you want me to repeat, or we just had like 3 slides, but anything that I missed, Miss Courtney?
No, I think you covered most of it.
Oh, I have one more question.
Yep.
Are you guys peanut or nut-free school?
We don't serve anything to the students.
Right, but for the kids that are bringing in the lunch, does it have to be peanut or nut-free for allergy reasons?
Yeah. So we actually, that's a really good thing to include that on our policy handbook, I think. But we have EpiPen here. We have all the safety measures, and students, our administrators and our teachers are able to help using that too, if need be. But we're not officially a peanut-free school, Jody. But I think everyone has a pretty good understanding of how deadly it can be, and because we have the safety measures here to mitigate that. But that might be a really good thing to add, and I'm gonna actually write that down. And before COVID-19, when students had their birthdays, like, we had policies in place where it has to be store-bought, so it's not made from home, because it's not labeled when you cook it from home. So peanut.
Oh, well, speaking of that, will you guys be doing any birthday celebrations for summer babies, or no?
I hate to be the party pooper, right? But for safety reasons, I don't think we should share our food with anybody. So what we can do though, Jody, so for Fairfax Global Academy, our sister school, we designated one day each month to celebrate everyone's birthday, right? Over the internet, like online. So let's say an in-person student has a birthday, because we still have a computer inside every classroom. I think they can still log in and celebrate with everyone. So if you are connecting from home, we asked the students to just bring their own cupcake or a cake with a candle. But maybe we can just do a virtual celebration every month. That's something that we can also think about.
I happen to have 2 summer babies, so
yeah, my birthday is in July too, so I like to be celebrated as well. So, but yeah, we probably will not allow any food sharing during this summer. Yeah, and I really do, think that it stinks, that students, there's not enough information for students under 12 to be vaccinated right now. And if everyone is vaccinated, then that wouldn't be a problem. But that's an ongoing process, and it maybe could be achieved, in the middle of the summer. They say September, but I think it's going to happen sooner. So we will be flexible as much as we can, but at the same time, safety is our number one priority. I don't care who you are. I just want you to be safe from start to finish. So maybe we can revisit that topic, but Miss Courtney's here because she's going to be our summer coordinator, and maybe we can do the birthdays as we have done with our sister school, and it's gone really well. So.
And then one thing you brought up that I'm actually jogged a question is I'm assuming there's no like nurse type of personnel on staff. So as far as injuries or first aid care, how is that handled?
So I'm CPR certified. So are a couple of other teachers that we'll be hiring. We actually have like some lifeguards. Um, I mean, teachers that also are lifeguards. So we don't have a designated school nurse, but we have a few people that are able to assist the students should the injury occur. And the only place where I could see injury happening is during our PE time or when we go to the pool. But when we go to the pool, then we have our lifeguards, right? They're notorious about having students not run in the pool, which I love. But during PE, it's usually 2 to 3. So it's usually two teachers and another staff, like an admin, because we have to drive the students to the pool. Or actually, speaking of PE, instead of driving students to the local park, a 5 minute away park, we are actually gonna be using a grass area in the back. So during PE, we're actually not gonna even transport students back and forth. We're gonna be using the grass area, and during that time when we have PE, we have multiple adults who are helping students. So yeah, no designated school nurse, but we have quite a few number of staff members who can do CPR, who knows what to do with the first aid kit. We have first aid kits everywhere. So yeah, but
How about the kids that become sick? How is that handled during the school?
so it depends on the sickness itself. I think if there's fever, then they just have to be dismissed. They're gonna so we have two rooms that we don't use over the summer, and we use that to kind of as a designated area where students that are becoming sick or that is sick can wait to be picked up. So we have that here, but I think if you have fever during COVID, that scares everyone, right? So
Right.
the screening, the daily screening is going to be used to kind of remind the parents, hey, does your kid have these symptoms? And if they do, here are the steps that you have to take before they're cleared to come to class. And I guess the great thing about having both online and in-person sessions is that if you've registered in person, you can still connect online with us. So say you're gone for a week because you guys are vacationing in Florida, even though you've registered in person, you can still connect. I mean, I don't know if you want to connect and study over during vacation, but that is a possibility. So if somebody gets sick or if somebody has a terrible headache and wants to go home, they go home, and the following day, if they still kind of want to stay home and connect, you can use your laptop to still catch up. So yeah.
Will you require a negative COVID test in the case of a kid or a student being sent home with a fever?
That is a great question and something that I'm not 100% sure about. So I'll look into that. And we have our staff meeting Friday to kind of bolster all those remaining questions that I have about, because I came up with a daily screening, and say you answered yes to a couple of these questions or at least one of these questions, then what happens? So we'll talk about that over this Friday, and we'll have that in our welcome packet. Sorry that it's not available today.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah. There's no PE for SAT. So PE stops from GT. Yeah. And for online, actually, Ryan, that's a good question. So students that register online are not able to participate in our PE nor our swimming pool sessions. So you are welcome to join, like coding program or art classes. So afternoon classes are available on a limited basis. But for SAT students, you were here last year, so there was no PE for SAT programs. Any other questions? Okay, so again, this is just first of many Q&A sessions that we will have. We plan to have it every week, but we're also getting ready for orientation and others. So I'll definitely be in contact with everyone again. If you have any remaining questions, I will drop my email address here. You're welcome to reach out to me or call the school office 978-0008. And we will update you. We will surely update you with any other important changes. So we're one of the first schools to be notified by Virginia Council of Private Education as well as CDC. We're very grateful that we're one of the first ones to be notified, and any changes to the governor's executive orders, like it's all like we pay attention to that. So anything important will be reflected, and we will, even though even after the first week of summer camp, if something changes, you will be hearing from us as soon as possible. Okay. Well, thank you everyone for attending, especially a couple of the students that are attending here. I really thank you for coming and to listen to this presentation. I hope everyone has a great rest of your evening. And again, you will hear from us again in terms of the welcome packets and also the orientation schedule. So until then, I hope everyone stays safe. Thank you for attending. I'll talk to everyone soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Jim, I have a question.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Hey, just one more question. I wonder for the fourth grade that we're interested, are there a class size upper limit or?
Yeah, so right now there is a limitations on how many students can enroll. So I'm looking at GT fourth grade. Oh, actually, you're talking about GT, right?
Well, that's my second question. Is when the summer camp starts, will GT class continue run, or is no longer running at the every?
Oh, the class that we had during the school year stops during summer break.
Oh.
And then
So only summer camp runs.
well, so okay, that's actually a very good question. Here you go. So if you actually visit our website, mybestacademy.com, the first drop-down menu is upcoming classes.
Okay.
And it's summer 2021 programs. It's very easy to get to, so you can just watch what I'm doing. There's something called mini courses here.
Okay.
And you click here to view the schedule. And there is a GT program for 3rd and 4th. We meet Monday and Wednesdays from 3:30 to 5:30. So
Gotcha.
our summer camp ends at 3 o'clock officially. And these mini camps all happen sort of after that.
Got you. Okay. All right. Cool. And for summer camp classes, because we are taking online for sure. Are there limit how many total? I mean, physicals plus.
Yeah. So we have 4 to 6 in-person seats designated for in-person students. And the online students, I mean, it's not, our online program is not as popular as in-person. So I actually outlined here that our average class size would be somewhere between like 8 to 12 or 8 to 14, right? So it's not going to be like 20 students per class. I mean, that's impossible for the teacher to address both in-person and virtual students. But if you're interested in 4th grade GT, we actually, the funny thing is we had 2 students for 4th grade GT and they both dropped. So from here on out, if you're interested in 4th grade GT, we might actually have to put you with 5th graders because we we actually gave that physical classroom away to sixth graders who had a lot of registration, and we had to physically split them into two classes. So fourth grade GT in particular, we're gonna have to either put you with fifth graders, fifth grade GT, or fifth grade regular enrichment, depending on how the student grades out with our summer camp.
Got you. Well, we hadn't registered because there are conflict schedules. Like, for instance, because we've been putting Sophia out from all kind of physical class in the last year. It was online only. So we want to make her up for, fencing, dancing, ice skating, those kind of camp.
Yeah.
Which, you guys is like a block for all. I can't do here and there. That's why we're still hesitating
I
to do.
I see. So fifth grade enrichment only has 4 people. So Sophia would be the 5th person there. And in terms of the reading and writing and math abilities, because this is not GT students, I think Sophia can still hang with 5th graders. Or if you want to be like, if you want to challenge her a lot, then 5th grade GT has 1 in-person seat remaining right now. And
we don't do in person. Sorry.
Oh, okay. So then it wouldn't matter. Yeah. So.
Yeah, to us, we don't do in person. That make her the only online student? Is that what happened?
For 5th grade in-person enrichment, yes. For 5th grade GT, no. There are 5 students, and they're gonna be divided into 2. So in most cases, we're gonna have like 3 or 4 online students per grade.
I'm sorry, I'm confused. So for the summer camp for 4th grade, there are actually a 4th grade. There's a 5th grade GT. There is a 5th grade enrichment.
Yeah. So we will have to test. I would have to test Sophia and see her scores to see which grade level is more appropriate for her academic level.
Got you. Okay. All right. All right. Since I still have time, I missed the discount time, so I still have a little time. Let me figure out all her other camp schedules.
Yeah. Like, weigh your options and reach out to us. We'll always be here. Last year was really difficult for us, but we somehow still managed to stay open for another year, and we're back. and we really want to make this summer successful. And have more, a lot of enrollments back, because we're not going to be able to stay open if same thing happens from last year. So.
Oh, okay, all right. It's great to see you.
I know. I recognize your voice, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to identify who you were or not. So.
No. So, all right, I'll keep you in contact.
Okay, thank you, Tracy.
All right, thank you. All right, bye for now. Thanks.
All right, thank you, Courtney. That actually was like right about an hour.
Yeah. Good
see.
question. I have to think about. I said there was a lot of good questions and a lot of things
Yeah. Something the peanut-free policy might be a good line to add. We'll bring it up on Friday.
Yeah, the only thing is I would think a lot of students don't have a lot of lunch options for cold food. So I think a lot of them would probably make peanut butter sandwiches. I think that would be the big thing.
That's a good point too.
So like I remember I went on a flight once and they told us they like threw all my snacks out because no peanuts, and I didn't know beforehand. So whatever we do, we just have to make sure we tell them so that it's not like somebody doesn't know and they pack a peanut butter sandwich. And I feel like it's going to be kind of hard to regulate, because then that student want to have food. But if anything, maybe we can send out like an allergy form ahead of time and make sure we keep those students maybe.
No food sharing whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't even know how close you can be to have a peanut allergy.
You have to consume it. Yeah, so no food sharing. Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like it should be fine. I know sometimes they say completely nobody can have peanuts because of an allergy, but I think it should be fine as long as we're making sure they don't share food.
Yeah, I'm sure we may have the allergy form already made up. I'm just
Yeah,
not aware of it. Yeah.
I'll look through the Google Drive for it, and maybe that's something we can include in like the welcome package.
Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Courtney.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
Bye.